ceremony is the 40th Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, General James C. McConville. He is accompanied by the outgoing commander, Lieutenant General Charles D. Luckey. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation by Chaplain Gregory Long and remain standing for the arrival of the official party, honors, and the singing of our national anthem by Lieutenant Colonel Dalmacia Kramer.
I invite you to join me as I pray. O God, the weight of command is great. Be with those upon whom this mantle is cast. Give them the wisdom to know the right path and the courage to follow. For our commander and leader, Lieutenant General Luckey, we give you thanks. We are grateful for his leadership and dedication to America's Army Reserve soldiers, civilians, and their families. He has touched each of our lives, and we are better for it. Guide him now as he has guided those given to his charge these past 4 years. We pray your blessings upon him and his family as they depart our ranks and enter this next chapter of their lives. May we, the men and women of the Army Reserve, continue to shoulder our responsibilities willingly and perform them to the best of our ability as we keep pounding on the road to awesome. Continue in us the courage of those who have woven this tradition into the history of our country. Grant us the determination to live out our country's creed, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Guests, please be seated. The relinquishment of command is a traditional event that is rich with symbolism and heritage. Key to the ceremony is the passing of the organization's colors. These colors represent not only the lineage and honors of the unit, but also the cohesive unity of all its personnel, military and civilian. The colors are not only the commander's symbol of authority, but are a visual citation of the responsibilities to the organization. Wherever the commander is located, so too are the colors. The custodian of the colors is the command sergeant major, who is the senior enlisted soldier of the command and the principal enlisted advisor to the commander. The passing of the colors not only symbolizes the transfer of command and authority from the outgoing commander, but also demonstrates to all the members of the command that while there has been a change of leadership, all remain steadfast to the mission, as represented by the colors.
Ready? Peace. About. Forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 40th Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, General James C. McConville.
Well, good morning, General Garrett, Sergeant Major of the Army, Princeton, General Fellow, General Officers, Sergeant Majors, distinguished guests. Good morning and welcome. And greetings to those who are joining us online who could not be here in person. It's a great day to be in the United States Army because we serve with the world's greatest soldiers. And today is a particularly great day because we get to honor the men and women of the Army Reserve and celebrate the service of Lieutenant General Chip Luckey and his wife Julie as Chip joins the ranks of our soldiers for life. The Army Reserve makes up 20% of the total force. Along with your brothers and sisters in the Army National Guard, our nation's citizen soldiers make up more than 50% of the United States Army. You provide unique capabilities while maintaining the same standards as active forces and balancing your civilian jobs and lives. And each of you truly embodies the Army Reserve motto of twice the citizen, symbolized by the double eagles on your shoulders, looking both outward to protect the nation and inward to serve the communities. And at no time has the double mission been more evident than the year 2020. At the beginning of this year, and if we can remember that long ago, almost 1,000 reservists were preparing for Defender Europe, the largest troop deployment in over 25 years, to test and demonstrate the Army's ability to compete and win in a world of great power competition. But all that changed with the global spread of COVID-19, and the eagle turned inward. When Americans talk about heroes, it's not uncommon to think of soldiers first. But not only the heroes we imagine are jumping out of airplanes or storming the bridges of Normandy, but for the past several months, the U.S. Army has been fighting a war against COVID-19. And in this war, the heroes have been our doctors, our nurses, our medical professionals. They've been our scientists. They've been our engineers. And across them all, they've been our citizen soldiers. And how fitting your heroism has been in the COVID era. You've carried on the legacy of our nation's original reservists, the Medical Reserve Corps, founded in 1908. And over 3,000 reservists were mobilized for COVID-19 response, most in less than 72 hours. That includes over 1,200 medical professionals. Not counted, those heroes remained in their civilian roles to fight COVID in their local hospitals and clinics. You stood up 17 urban augmentation medical task forces, or URBOGs, as Chip liked to call them, to support local communities across the nation. I saw you in New York City, New Jersey, I saw you in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. You provided over 180 liaison officers to advise FEMA in every region. And some of you even raised your hands as veterans and retirees to return to service in a time of need. The men and women of our Army Reserve and the U.S. Army Reserve Command are true heroes who understand our Army attitude that winning matters. And it's no wonder with a leader like Lieutenant General Chip Luckey, who would constantly encourage you to keep pounding. It's common for reserve soldiers to have a broad range of talents, but Chip has taken that to a new level. It's not often you meet someone who's an English major, an infantryman, a paratrooper, the Army's oldest living Green Beret, and a lawyer, both in and out of uniform. He's been a trusted advisor, whether to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Chief of Staff of the Army, or a client on trial. He's been a trusted leader, from an infantry platoon leader in Germany to a Special Forces 8 team and 10th Group, the commanding general of the 200,000 of our nation's finest men and women. The son of a World War II veteran and the grandson of a World War I veteran, Chip has loved the Army his whole life. He has made this evident throughout an amazing 43, and I say again, 43-year career during which he has repeatedly proven to be the right person in the right place at the right time. So Chip, on behalf of the United States Army, I want to thank you for a lifetime of service. And to Julie, the Iron Dome, I don't know, that's what they say, not my words, the commands of the U.S. Army Reserve, and I won't go into why they say that. Thank you for your years of service to the country, and I know Chip wouldn't be where he is without you, and we really appreciate it. And Maria just passes on her heartfelt thanks that you've done for our families. And so, congratulations to both of you on Chip's well-earned retirement, and good luck and Godspeed on your next rendezvous with destiny. And finally, to the soldiers, families, and civilians of the Army Reserve, I could not be more proud of you. Thank you for your continued service to both the nation and our neighborhoods. People first, winning matters, and as always, we remain Army strong.
Thank you, General McConville. Lieutenant General and Mrs. Luckey, please join General McConville in front of the flags. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the reading of the retirement certificate. It reads, Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Charles D. Luckey, having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Army, effective 31 July 2020. Signed, James C. McConville, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. Thank you, General McConville and Mrs. Luckey. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Charles D. Luckey, United States Army, retired.
I have to admit, I don't feel much different, but to the Chief, thanks for signing off on my retirement. And thanks for being here. Thanks for presiding over this ceremony and for honoring not just the Luckey family, but this entire team, 200,000 soldiers and civilians spread across 20 time zones and 350,000 family members all supporting this team. So you are all of us by being here today. I appreciate that very much on behalf of this whole Freedom 6. Sure, thanks for being here. It's been an awesome ride together. You and I have had a couple of different opportunities to serve together, and having you here has been just it's been awesome. And I enjoyed learning so much from General Abrams, but the transition between you taking the stick and Laura in the middle there, keeping things going, it's been awesome. And I appreciate all your support. I look forward to staying in touch with you into the territory here. Yes, I may, neighbor. Thanks for being here. Keep an eye on the new CSM for me. We're breaking him in. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. He's a cop from New York City, but I told the chief, we got a little New York-Boston thing going on again. That's good. That's good. That's a good little diversity there for the team, so that's good. But thanks for being here today. And Rope, you got the stick now. You know what to do with it. I don't know how well you got it. You got it. So, the Chief, a couple of things, and then I want to talk to the whole team, but I do want to make sure we're clear. So I acknowledge the fact that you just noted that I'm going to be a soldier for life, but I got to tell you, Sergeant First Class Barroso, who is our ops NCO and my aide, basically says I'm going to become a statistic here pretty soon, which is homeless vet. So I guess that's, I don't know what that means. All I know is it's driving Julie crazy that we can't figure out where we're going to go, what we're going to do. We'll get there sooner or later. I do want to acknowledge a couple folks here quickly that I want to talk about the team. Having spent 43 years plus in the Army as a soldier, and having started my entire career here as a regular Army infantry officer in 1977 doing ROTC summer camp. In fact, I was talking to the team last night. We sort of come full circle, back to brag. Doesn't look like it used to back in the day, but this is a great place to say goodbye to a lot of folks and thank a lot of people for their support. After 43 years, if I started naming names, it would take the morning, so I'm not going to do that. But I do want to recognize a few folks. I want to start off. I think it's fitting as a matter of just sort of course in terms of how we as an all-volunteer force always have to remember that it's those people who love us and willing to share us with America and with America's Army that enable us to do this job. And I know that goes for every soldier in this space and in this place. But first and foremost, Iron Dome, love my life. I said I wasn't going to do this, so I won't. But we will keep out and as we move into the territory ahead. It's been awesome battle buddy, put up with a lot of stuff. The last 4 years have been, I'll just say we've been hitting the sled every day. And frankly, we don't know how to quit. So we'll figure out a new way to keep hitting it, but we'll probably have a little more time together. One of the things that Sergeant First Class Barroso said the other day was, they've been keeping me basically chained down for at least 12 hours a day, if not longer, and pretty soon you're going to have nobody but me hanging around all the time. So my persistent presence may become irritating pretty quick, so we'll see how that goes. But I look forward to giving it a shot anyway. I want to also give a shout out to the Luckey kids, Liz up in Western Maine and Wells, Maine, and Max in Boston, and Tim in Chicago, and to their significant others, Eric in Maine, and Michelle in Boston, and my other daughter, Signe, Tim's wife in Chicago. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of their support and service. I could spend the morning, and I won't, I promise you, talking about all the things that they've missed all these years. As we all know as soldiers, the Army demands a lot of us, the country demands a lot of us, and when we deliver, our families have to support us in doing it. I would submit that for the soldiers that serve in America's Army Reserve and for our fellow soldiers in the Guard as well, it's even a little more intense because we've got to balance the life of the family, the life of our employer, and our responsibilities as soldiers. And balancing all that requires the family to really be all in and supporting us. And so I can't say enough about how blessed I am to have had a team all these years that has supported me through many, many things. I also want to thank my extended family. As the chief said, my dad was an E5 in the Second World War. My grandfather was a PFC. He made corporal twice and got busted for fighting. Go figure. I don't know how I turned out to be such a mellow person, but my grandfather was in the First World War, and my father-in-law, Wally Fisher up in Greensboro, served in the Korean War. So we sort of, inside the Luckey Fisher plan, we sort of got it covered, at least for a good portion of the 20th century. And so I appreciate my in-laws, my extended family, my brothers, my mom, who's still alive and hanging in there through COVID and everything in a rest home or a facility in Bloomfield, Connecticut. So for everybody who supported us all along, thanks so much for that. Also want to mention real quick, because I think it's important and fitting for us to remember that, the place I went to high school up in New Hampshire had a motto, finish, rig, and appendant. What that stands for, what that means is the end hinges upon the beginning. When I think about the people that have set me on the right path, I think back to Paul Herbert, my first company commander, 152 Infantry in Bamberg, Germany in 1977, who really taught me sort of something even before airland battle kicked in, which was you got to synchronize as much of your fires as long as you can till you run out of ammo, kill as many Soviets as you can, and then be prepared to just give it the last go and die in place, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. Matured a little bit, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to deliver the effect until you run out of ammo. And so I learned that from Herbert. My two first sergeants, Thurman Perry and a guy named Gates from Wyoming, who always looked like a classic sort of Wyoming sheriff. And he was my first sergeant when I was a second lieutenant. I've never forgotten him. And talk about two role models as non-commissioned officers, senior non-commissioned officers, E8s, both who served in Vietnam, multiple tours, basically and helped break me in as a lieutenant in the unit in Germany back in the day. I want to thank Jim Dubick publicly for being the one who sort of took a flyer on me back in 2008 and said, hey, come on over here and help me do foreign military sales. He knew I didn't know anything at all about foreign military sales, which is apparently why he hired me. And we had a pretty good run of it. I want to thank Mike Mullen, Admiral Mullen, the chairman who called me back to the Joint Staff. Basically created all kinds of disruptive forces in a lucky life. We thought we were going to deploy for 1 year to Baghdad, and here we are, 12 years later, still pounding. Came back, worked for Admiral Mullen, worked for General Dempsey, worked for Chuck Jacoby, worked for Short and Gortney in a couple of different jobs. And I just want to give all of those leaders sort of across the Joint Force some thanks. I also want to personally acknowledge the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who shared a duplex with us for a couple of years. Back in the day, when I used to feel his air conditioning all the time, I was a 2-star, he was a 1-star. That's how life works. So he's never let me forget the fact that I stole his air conditioning, and I'm still paying for it today. But anyway, I just want to thank all of those leaders, mentors, and I also want to give a shout out to the Chief Staff of the Air Force, Fingers Goldfein, General Goldfein, a battle buddy of mine, has been for years, and I'm proud to say that I'm a friend. All right, to the team. I've done like 55 or 60 of these at this point. Sergeant Major Lombardo, when he interviewed for the job, he said, hey, I've watched every one of your videos at least once, so I think I got an idea how you roll. But I always try to give him a little something new. And always throw him a little bit of a curve to keep him on the balls of his feet. We're breaking him in. He's going to be okay. Look, I just want to say a couple things here to everybody. And I want to sort of echo what the chief said and put a little bit more English on the cue ball, as Mike Cormack would say. I want to talk about what you did, how you did it, and the way ahead. What you did, and Joe McConville summed it up, the chief summed it up here, but what the chief probably didn't see, although he knew it, but he wasn't living it every day, the way most of you did, was us pushing hard to change the ethos and culture of an entire component of the United States Army. And to take us from a view of warfare and combat operations that was essentially episodic, rotational, prepare year 1, prepare year 2, prepare year 3, prepare year 4, deploy, do whatever you have to do, come back, disaggregate capability, reset, and then give yourself a couple, 3, 4 years to get ready to go again. We dispensed with that notion. We did it because we understood that in the age in which we live and in the age in the future in which we're moving, we have peer competitors on the planet that are not going to give us 3 or 4 or 5 years to be able to do what we have to do. So we came up with a thing called RFX. I didn't name it. We had a little conversation, a very collaborative exercise inside America's Army Reserve. There was a lot of pushback. We started talking about capability, combat readiness, and lethality on day 3. There were some folks that didn't like the word lethal, thought that lethal was probably problematic for a force that had over half the Army's medical capabilities. So we had to explain, which is ironic, based on what the chief just said, we had to explain to some of our medical community, what do we mean about lethality? What do we mean about combat readiness? What do we mean about capability? And we did it. You did it. Over the span of 4 years, we developed an agility, a familiarity, and a comfort with training ourselves, once again putting large-scale crew-served weapons into action. It's at a scale and scope that had never been done since 1908, and revitalize the ethos of this force to get after standards, discipline, and fieldcraft. And I'm not knocking anybody or anything that came before. we found ourselves in a threat environment that had materialized in a way that it hadn't in a while. And we responded to it, we anticipated it, and we moved out. I would submit that what you did over the last 4 years is what enabled us to have the intellectual agility, the muscle memory, and the foundational platform to do what General McConnell, the Chief of Staff of the Army, just talked about. It enabled you in 2 weeks' time to reinvent Army medicine inside this component of the Army and generate a capability and a force structure that had never existed before in the history of the United States Army. Marshal that capability, get it to Army Reserve Centers around the country, get it on airplanes, and employ it into largely, I would say, the largest medical challenge this country's faced in a long time, and do it in less than 2 weeks' time. And the Chief well knows that he and I talked a lot about making sure we did this the right way, but we delivered what we said we could deliver on time. Because credibility in this business is everything, and you've got to move at the speed of relevance. And I'm just telling you, you did it. You did it. And that is something that has made RFX doctrine, and I submit it's the stuff of legend. And the Army's not gonna forget what you did, but the Army's going to expect you to do it again and again. And I just told the Chief offline, I said, we've set an expectation now. We've got to continue to deliver, and we will. So you've got to carry that legacy forward. How'd you do it? You did it with leadership, you did it with energy, and you did it with an absolute commitment to execute. And I'll be honest with you. There was a moment, and the Chief won't mind me sharing this. We had a VTC a while back, and the Chief was coaching me. A lot of people on the net about making sure we delivered on what we said we could do. And I said, Roger, got the red dot right here. But for those of you who don't understand, that is empowering. To have the senior leadership of the United States Army looking to this component to deliver a capability and giving me the space to make a commitment publicly to my boss, the Chief of Staff of the Army, and then to deliver on that commitment is huge. And that's the focus on execution. Because we all know we can talk, we can make PowerPoint slides, we can do a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, you say you're going to have 15 urban augmentation medical task forces, it's easier to say over time. 15 of them ready to deploy at 85 for 85 in terms of strength on the 7th of April. You got to do it. You got to do it. And you did. That's a focus you can never lose. Because it's an expectation that's not going to go away. I guarantee it. And the Chief and I have talked about this. I don't think we're done with this challenge. And I've told this team, I consider the URBOGs an RFX-1 Alpha capability set. And whenever the Chief of Staff of the Army needs them to be reconstituted and deployed, we're going to do it. I'm talking the way ahead. Talked a lot about this over the years, and I've written to you. I posted something last week on this. I want you all to listen to me about this. Future hasn't happened yet. It's not written. It's not cast. It's ours to shape. It's yours to shape. We owe it to our fellow citizens as soldiers in America's Army Reserve to model for our fellow citizens what right looks like. We've been talking about this for 4 years. On day one, I told you I was a shield. About 3 weeks ago, gave a little pitch from the ridge at Fort Myer, talking about who we are, what we stand for, not confusing politics with morality. Talked about the basics of what we know to be true. Quoted Plato, what is good, what is not good, need anyone tell us these things. You as soldiers in America's Army Reserve, as families who love and support those soldiers, you've got an opportunity to model for your fellow citizens what right looks like, how we treat each other with dignity, a sense of mutual respect. We embrace inclusivity. We live diversity. We know what makes us strong. We know what makes us tough. We know what makes us us. We're willing to disagree and still love each other. We're willing to discuss things civilly, even if we don't agree. Those are basic things. They come from the soldier's creed. Think about that. We serve the people of the United States. All of them. Not some of them. Not one of them. All of them. And we've sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the authority is sworn investing in very true faith and allegiance to say. We're going to do it. You model for your fellow citizens. When you live by those values, You model for your fellow citizens what it looks like. And they need you to do that now more than ever. So I encourage you as we move into the future, we shape it. As I said in my note to you, we can bend the arc. We can bend the arc of history by leading with love, by being present, by unleashing the power of the team, by reminding all of us every day that enthusiasm is infectious. And it's a force multiplier. You are those things. You can always do better tomorrow than we did yesterday. We all know that. That's our responsibility, and it's our opportunity. You're spread across 20 time zones, 200,000 of you, in small towns all across this country and around the world. Your ability to influence your fellow citizen is like no capability anybody else has. To show every day the Army values, our culture, and what does it mean about how we treat each other. I just encourage you to stay after it. Keep pounding. I want to finish with two thoughts, and then I'll stand down. One, I've talked to many of you about this recently, and something I want you to think about. I talk about one of the advantages we have being human beings is we're seeing it. We're able to anticipate a future. We're able to remember a past. We're able to put things in context of time. I would encourage all of us to think with the present as a future past. What I mean by that is, so when you're in the present moment, see it in the context of a larger schema. Understand that what we do now matters and does bend, can bend, will shape the future. So we've got to understand the awesome responsibility of today, of now, and to make sure in every day and every way we're doing the best we can to take care of each other as we lead this team in the future. And I'll leave with this. Talk about lead with love. We just posted a little clip on the internet the other day about this, and I want to be clear about this one because I think it's important. It's something that General McConnell was just talking about as we were coming in here. We in the Army know that we should never and will never, as leaders, ask our soldiers to do something we wouldn't do ourselves. To me, leading with love is that. Leading with love is being genuine, it's being authentic, it's training hard, it's taking care of your soldiers, not coddling them. It's not about being nice to people. It's not about being gushy. It's about, at the end of the day, making sure the team understands we are more committed to each other and to our mission than we ever are to ourselves. That's leading with love. I would encourage you to embrace that concept as leaders, emerging leaders in America's Army Reserve as you move into the future. I promise it will make us all better. Now Julie and I are going to have the horse shot out from under us. I guess it already did. Chief already read the order, so I guess the horse is going. So now I'm on foot. Good thing I started off as 11 Bravo. Know how to walk. So we're going to keep trekking down the road to Austin. And we won't be on the horse anymore. We'll just be walking with the rest of you. But it's a long journey, and it's not over today. We continue to push us into the future. We're going to keep pounding. Appreciate all of you. You have given me, as the quarterback of this team, the honor of a lifetime to be out there on the field with you every day, hitting it hard, playing fair, playing hard. And we'll keep doing that in our own way. I encourage you to do the same. You keep pounding. Don't believe it's 6.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Luckey. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of the Army song.
When the army and valor
The men and women of the United States Army Reserve are proud to have served with Lieutenant General Luckey and wish him and his family every success in their future endeavors. This concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of the men and women of the Army Reserve Command, thank you for attending.
Right.